Jeff's going to get started here in a second. I wanted to thank Jeff. This is Jeff Smith. For anybody who haven't talked to, we forgot during the announcements, Bill Stormfeather was not able to make it. He's actually not in the United States right now, so he really couldn't give us any details, so use your imagination. He's still in the service, so thankfully Jeff was already going to be here speaking, so he's going to fill in on this. He's going to talk about getting home in shtf.
You can't read, can you?
If you were in here earlier and you had Chris MC, I don't have jokes, I don't have anything else, so this is just more to the point. I did want to announce Emily Rock has her milk cow out here. It's a little off by itself, so if anybody's interested in that later, be sure to go out here. You can get through the arena, or you can come through this door right here, but Emily Rock is out there with her dairy cow. And for anybody who hadn't heard, at 10:45, they're having a kids foraging walk. Leslie will meet anybody at the front door who's interested in that. And with that, I'd like to thank Jeff, and I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you very much, Jake. Good morning, everybody. Oh man, look at this crowd. Oh, you're gonna have to give it up. We're gonna have to get going. I need a little clapping, a little noise here. Thank you. We're gonna be talking about getting home in an emergency. And this subject became very near and dear to me a number of years ago. My wife and I had been to a prepping event down in North Carolina, and we were headed back to our home in Ohio. And we were somewhere in Virginia, and my wife said, if something happened right now, could we make it home? And I started thinking about that. I'm retired from the military. I got a good bit of experience. And when you're coming to a getting home experience, sometimes it just boils down to embracing the suck. Because it's not going to be a good time. I thought about it. I thought I could probably make it. Wasn't sure if my wife could. I knew the things that would be affecting her mentally that were going to draw her down. But I started looking into it. I Googled getting home in an emergency. Man, in seconds, like 2.9 seconds, I had several 100,000 hits. Everybody was going to tell you how to make a get-home bag and what to put in it, but they weren't going to tell you how to get home and what you'd be facing. So I thought, well, here's an opportunity. So that's when I started working on this. A short time after that, we ended up with 3 daughters living over 50 miles away, either going to school or working. And we started thinking about how they were going to get home if something happened. That's when I really got into it deep. And then after I'd done this work trying to figure out how we're going to get our family home, I decided to pass on some of my findings to you fine folks. And hang on here, this is my only opportunity to play like I'm a college professor like Kent here used to be. So I'm going to get all official here, put my glasses on, and we'll get started. And I just made these outlines up. You can put some notes on them, refer to them. Some of them we're going to breeze through pretty quick. And I'm going to start off getting home versus sheltering in place. You know, I always hear people saying, anything happens, I'm going to bug out. I'm going to get going. I'm going to be gone.
Can't do it.
I know from my experience that there's times when it's best to do what the authorities say and just stay in place, shelter in place. Especially if you're dealing with a chemical spill, gas, something like that. You probably are not going to have enough information for you to get out of there safely and get to where you need to go, because you need to know the exact location, wind direction, your position, in keeping with where the spill is. A lot of times you got to just let that go to the authorities. Other times, it's going to be up to you to get going first. My wife is a nurse in the Ohio State Medical Center, and it's funny, people give her a hard time always for her prepping interest. But, you know, they had an incident where they're sitting there, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, power went out. Usually comes right back on with generator power. It didn't come on. Who were they looking to for an answer? They were looking to her. Said, hang on. She pulled her phone out, turned it on, phone's still working. Said, it's good. It should be on here in a minute or two. Boom. Generator was just a little slow getting started. It was fine. So people who show no interest in this throughout the year, when something happens, who are they going to look to? They're going to look to you folks right here. So just wanted to get that out there for you. When it comes to getting home, and that she's ready, because, you know, she's got responsibilities there to take care of people. But when it comes down to it, if you have a severe emergency, and the biggest one is electromagnetic pulse. if we were ever to be hit by electromagnetic pulse attack and lose everything, folks in the hospital aren't going to have a chance anyway if they're dependent on electricity to keep them going. If she is stuck there in Columbus, Ohio, I can tell you how quickly things are going to break down. Mm-hmm. We've seen it with the incidents we had there during COVID, and then some of the things that were stirred up during the last presidency. Things got stirred up quick down there. Things will go bad quick. She's got 9 miles to go before she's going to have a little bit smoother sailing. And we'll get into a little bit judging about what you're going to go through according to area here shortly. Important things you got to consider. And I'm going to kick another can down the road here. When it comes to get home bags, bug out bags, go bags, you know, there is a difference. If you're planning on bugging out, you're going to have everything that you're going to need to get from point A to point B. And then, unless you have stuff cached there, you're going to have to live off of what you take with you. Get home bag, you pretty much know where you're going. You know about how long it's going to take. You're going to know about what you're going to need to last for that amount of time. We figure from the distance she has to go from Columbus, if she's walking, it's probably going to take her 4 days maybe. Just because she's going to have to go around some towns and stuff. So distance, very important. The amount of time. Whenever we get into a situation that's bad, society's going to start to break down. You're going to have some idea, especially if you live in the area, what's going to go down first. Which areas are going to go down first. Cities, towns, you're going to be able to tell. Who's going to go wild first when 911 shuts down? Be aware and use that to make up your plan. Obstacles. Anybody know what kind of obstacles you might run into going home? River. Bad thing about rivers, you need a bridge to cross them most of the time. Bridges are going to become a choke point. So that's going to be a big consideration. Going through a city or a town. I know in our area there are some towns that we could probably make it through on day 1. Day 2 is going to get a little dicey. Day 3, going way around them. Environment and weather. If you're going to be going through an urban environment, you got to think about what kind of shelter you're going to be able to find there if you need it, what you're going to run into, and the weather. You have to adjust what you're carrying with you for the weather. We've got different stuff that we'll throw in this time of year to get ready for winter. Comes out in the spring because we don't want to carry it. Make sure that you're carrying stuff that's going to get you through any type of environment or weather for that season, because if you don't, you're wasting your time. But we're looking at it, sometimes we're going to might have to go through weather that's 0. And you're going to be living in that environment for days. So you have to be ready for it. Planning. I like to talk about planning because I was a planner in the military. One of the things I did. But planning, nobody wants to do it. And I stress doing some planning just because if you're by yourself, it doesn't matter. If you're playing for an audience of 1, you know, you can get away with no planning. But if you got any family members, any loved ones that are going to be involved in this, you need to just jot something down in writing. If you don't have a written plan, it's not a plan, it's a thought. Thoughts can disappear. If you've got some kind of simple plan written down of how it's going to go, what you're going to need to do, you can go back and alter that whenever you find something that you're going to need to improve upon. And I know I could go to a dozen people and I could say, hey, we're going to do a little prepping stuff this weekend. I want y'all come over and we are going to get together. We're going to go out. We're going to shop for some guns and ammo. How many people are going to show up?
All of them.
All of them. Everybody. They're going to want to get into it. If I say, hey, come on over, I'm cooking steak and we're going to do some planning. We're going to work on your plans. Think I'm going to get anybody there? A couple hungry folks maybe, but other than that, nobody's going to be into that. But it is important. It's the only way you can be fully prepared. Because I know I forget stuff. I think of stuff whenever I come out, whenever I meet different people, talk to them, get different inputs. I think something, man, that would go really good. But if I don't put it down in writing, I've talked to 10 more people and I forgot about it. So the plan is good because you can put it in writing, you can remember it, you can change it for the better. It should be a living document. You should always be changing it and working on it. The greater the distance you gotta go, the more involved it is, the more important a plan is. Because, especially if you have other people that need to know what you're doing, if you're coming home, it's taking you a couple days, they can get that plan, they can look at it, and they can say, okay, you should be right about here. If you're making it home, we should be expecting you 2 days from now. If they happen to have some way that they can come out and get you, they should be able to figure out about where you are to come looking for you. Associated plans. If you got a plan in place, you got a family, if you have the need for a get-home plan, you also probably have the need for a shelter activation plan. Does your family know what to do if you're stuck 50 miles away trying to get home in an emergency? Does somebody know what they ought to do? And I know with our family, the first thing is get gunned up and shut everything down and hold on tight. Because you don't want to go on like business as usual, because you don't know what's going to happen. So people need to know what to do if you're not there to get everybody heading in the right direction. Dependent care plan. How many people here have kids in school? Do you know what your school's plan is in some kind of emergency? Are they going to release your kids or are they going to hold on to them? Because there are school systems, that's their plan. They're going to hold on to the kids until the emergency's over. So you got to move quickly. That's why you need some kind of dependent care plan if you got kids. Have somebody that's close to there, have them in writing that they can go get your kids out, and have them do it quickly before the school figures out what's going on. And also, if they're going to do that for you, make sure you don't want them taking care of your kid and the kid's not bringing anything to the party. Make sure that you get some stuff boxed up, whether it's food, some toys for your kids, some extra clothes, whatever, something that they like, some of their books, and have them store it for you so if they ever do need to get your kids, the kids aren't going to be a pain in the butt. You've got something to keep them going. Okay, we're done with planning now. No, we're not, I lied. First thing you got to determine is your operating area. What kind of area are you talking about? And generally what I look at, my office is 48 miles from the house. So I know I'm going to have to go at least 48 miles most of the time. If there's someplace else that I go regularly, I need to calculate that distance in there. Always figure the furthest distance you travel on a regular basis when you're trying to figure out what you got to plan for. The routes. Figure out the routes you're going to take. And you know, routes, it's something I've talked to a lot of people on this over the years, and it's really funny because on a daily basis, what route do we take, say, in between work and home? It's one we can travel quickest, right? Is the route quickest by vehicle always the shortest?
No.
Know what the shortest route is, the most direct route. And I have talked to tons of people who have no idea what the most direct route home is. Our oldest daughter and her husband, they started working on their plans to get home. They're 18 miles from work. They were planning the route that they drive every day. I took a look at that, I said, you know what? You can knock about 6 miles off that. Take the most direct route. And then, does everybody know you can find that on your phone? I know I got an iPhone. If you go in there to maps and you plot a course, you're wanting to get directions someplace, just go ahead and punch the little man walking there, and boom, that's going to give you the best route walking. Well worth your time to know those routes. Know your main routes, know your backup routes. You don't want to have to stop and start looking when you're in a dire situation. You should know that way if you run into a blockage on your primary route, you can head off to your secondary route. Risk assessment. There are so many different things that could happen. Only you are going to know if you actually take the time and do the risk assessment on your routes. What towns you're going to have to go through. Like I said, my route home, I know that 2/3 of the way I'm going to have to either go through or go around this one town that I know after day 2 is going to be problematic. because I know people are gonna take advantage of the situation. It's gonna take them that long to figure it out. One good thing we got, a lot of criminals are really dumb. They're not going to classes like this to plan ahead. But they're gonna learn quickly. They're gonna see opportunity. Get through there before they start seeking out those opportunities, or you're gonna have to go around the area to keep yourself safe. Routes, distance, we just talked about. Terrain. Terrain can be another issue. You know, it's one thing to drive up a big hill in your vehicle doing 60 miles an hour. It's another one when you're walking carrying a pack. Judge accordingly with terrain. If you know you're gonna have to go over a lot of hills, that's gonna take you a little bit longer to get there. Make sure you account for that. And then, like was mentioned before, like rivers. Rivers can be a real big issue, especially if you're far enough into the situation where people have had time to block off those bridges. Because you're gonna have opportunists who are gonna say, hey, I see a money-making opportunity here. I take control of that bridge, I control who goes over, and they're gonna have to pay me. Never, ever underestimate how low people can go. Because you get an emergency situation, you're gonna see it. Cream rises to the top, and you got that whole other level that's gonna go farther to the bottom than they ever were before. Checkpoints, rally points, and rest highs. If you were traveling long enough, take the time to stop and find some good places you're going to be able to find where you can stop, you can take a break, you can hide. I know I got a couple places along this 4-lane state route where I got a little bit of elevation, there's a lot of cover in there, I can get up in there, take a break, nobody's going to see me. That same area, there is one better spot. Why don't I pick that one? Bingo. You know, if you go out there and say, this is the very best spot I can find, other people are going to think the same thing. Look for an area that's not quite the best, but out there where you can still monitor the entire area around. Yes, sir, Ken.
In a situation like that, though, people that are going to have that planning are going to be allies, aren't they, most of the time, and may be mutual beneficial?
If you can find somebody that you can trust, if you're traveling with somebody, a coworker or family, as we have plans where our family would meet up at rally points that I'm getting into here. If you have folks like that, yeah, you're good. But other than that, I preach, if you can make it home without running into another living being, you've done well. Because you never know what the other person's thinking. You never know what the other person doesn't have that you have. And that's something like cigarettes. You know, folks that have cigarettes, man, anybody here smoke or ever have smoked wants to share? If you go 3 days without, how far away can you smell a cigarette burning?
Long way.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, you got to consider those people that you might meet up with, potential allies. Are they really going to be an ally, or are they after something that you have? And I hate to have to preach that, but I hate to have to preach, you know, that do not trust your fellow man, but we all know. And it's just hard to say. Your primary mission is to get home to your family.
My aunt used to say, trust everybody, just don't tempt them. That's what she lived by.
Yep, and sort of along the same lines, don't give them an opportunity. Yep. And the rally points, like I said, we have rally points made up, and the girls coming home know where these rally points are, and they know how long it should take everybody to get there. So they get to that rally point, they stay there. They stay there for 8 hours. If the other people haven't got there, it's time for them to move on. If you have an opportunity to do something like that, it's well worth it. Preparation. Things considered. Everybody know what the rules of 3 are?
No.
Rules of 3. You can live 3 minutes without oxygen, 3 days without shelter in extreme conditions, or 3 hours, and then 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. So as you're planning your trip, use that accordingly. Because I see people putting together these get-home bags and, you know, they're short water. Water is one of the most important things you're gonna need. If it's in the middle of winter, shelter is gonna be very important, because if you're stuck out there on your own and you don't have proper clothing, you're gonna need some shelter. You're gonna need a way to build a little tarp or something like that. Use the rules of three to plan what you're gonna need to get in that bag. I'm gonna tell you a little bag story here. When I started doing all this, usually before I go out on classes, I'll do a Google search, see if I find anything new and exciting. I found this one little fella, lived in the city. He did a whole nice video on getting home in an urban environment. And he showed what he had in his get-home bag. And as he walked, I could hear this little jingle, jingle, something rattling. And he started breaking down what was in there. He had a little plastic pill bottle full of finishing nails. Those finishing nails were in case he had to stop and build a shelter traveling through the city to his home. And I'm thinking, what are you gonna do with finishing nails? I know some people might be able to put together something, but what are you gonna do with finishing nails in the city to build a shelter? And if it's only gonna take you 8 hours to get home, why are you worried about it? But people will put some nonsensical things in there, and I run into folks, and I don't mean to insult anybody here, what you have in your get-home bag, but you know, so one guy, 3 knives, 2 hatchets. And he had about a 20-mile trip home. So buddy, you know, you got some nice gear here, but do you really need all that? Think about what you're doing, and because it comes down to your get-home bags. You look at my get-home bag, my wife's get-home bag, a whole lot different, because I spent a whole lot of time in the military carrying a pack. She's a nurse, she hasn't had to carry a pack, and I guarantee you, she's gonna make it probably about 300 yards with her pack before she says, oh, I gotta thin this thing out a little bit. Because once you start carrying that stuff, you're gonna realize what you really need and what you don't. Appearance and demeanor. Everybody heard of the gray man theory?
Blend in.
Mm-hmm.
Blend in.
But I'm going to throw something out there. If you know what you're doing and you are moving with a purpose because you know what you're doing, are you going to be a gray man? You're going to stick out. Normal folks probably aren't going to realize that. Who's going to realize it? Bad guys, criminals, because they're used to watching and picking their victims. If they see somebody with a pack moving with a purpose who looks like they know what's going on, you're going to stick out. You're not going to be a gray man. So I say go with it. Move with a purpose. Get to where you got to go. If you see somebody that's giving you the stink eye, look them right in the eye. Let them know you see them. Don't do this stuff that, oh, I'm not going to look them in the eye. It's going to make them mad. Look them in the eye like, I don't care if you're mad or not. I know what I got. I know what I'm doing. Don't mess with me. Keep going, get out of there. Along the same lines, and I just shared this story last night, another Google search provided the first videos that came up. 2 young men, 2 videos. They were both former special operators from the looks of them. And we have any special operators in here? Should have said that before I started talking bad. But first guy comes up, he's got all his gear on, he's got body armor, he's got his M4, he's got it in high ready position, and he's saying, okay, if you're making your way home in an emergency, you got to be ready for anything. And he's walking along. If you have to go through that, you're going the wrong way.
Yeah.
Find a different way. Because you don't want to get into a gunfight. You're not going to win. Even if you come out alive, you're not going to win. You're going to expend ammo, you're going to expend energy. If you get any kind of injury and you still have a long ways to go, chances are you're not going to make it. Avoid people as much as possible. Second guy, and I'm going to make fun of gas masks, and I'm an affiliate for Mira Safety Products with gas masks. But this guy said you got to have a gas mask, because if you're going through an area and they deploy gas, you're going to need something to protect yourself. Go a different way. If it's that bad, stay away from it. We have, anybody know the author Franklin Horton? Prepper author? Oh, okay, Mr. Drum up there, see, he's nodding his head. You know, Franklin Horton, so much common sense. I love his books, but I tell a lot of folks in this class, who, especially if I have a lot of Franklin Horton fans, if you listen to what I'm telling you here and what you have to do to get home, you will never be in a Franklin Horton novel. because it will be boring. You will say the novel's gonna be about 2 sentences long, and you're basically gonna be saying, I listened to Jeff, I avoided everybody, I got home and nothing happened. Can't sell a novel like that. That's what you wanna do though.
Yep.
Get home, make it as easy as possible, avoid everybody. Get home bag. I don't tell you everything you need to put in a get home bag. I'll tell you some things that you can't live without in a get home bag that I see a lot of people missing out on. And you know, a lot of folks miss out on the most obvious stuff. You know how many get home bag lists I've seen? Thanks, sir. That leave out anything, I'm gonna put this as delicately as possible, to clean your backside. You're gonna have to go to the bathroom. You're gonna have to stop going to the bathroom because you're getting home. You gotta be ready to take care of it. I've seen lists that leave that out. Other things. Advil. Any anti-inflammatory. Why are you gonna want that?
Because you're old and everything hurts.
Exactly. And you are gonna hurt more because you're not just walking. You could walk, say, okay, I'm gonna go 12 miles this first day. You can walk 12 miles every day with your pack on when you were motivated because your adrenaline is rushing, because you're trying to get home and get away from the situation. Everything's gonna be different. You are gonna be sore. And if you stop and take a break, you go to get up, life's gonna be miserable. You get in this situation, first thing you need to do, take some anti-inflammatories. And then keep taking them until you get to the other end. Anybody know what moleskin is?
Yeah, for your
You are
feet.
gonna have blisters for primarily the same reason I just said. I don't care if it's a pair of boots that you wear all the time, you get that pack on, you get all geared up, you start walking and you're getting motivated by fear or just anxiousness to get home, you are gonna end up getting blisters. You need a way to take care of them. Don't get those little Dr. Scholl things in Walmart, because I tell you what, speaking from experience, they're not gonna do anything for you. Get some big wide moleskin like this that you can get on there that's actually gonna protect you. Get that on there. Other things. Little body powder. You're gonna be out there, you're gonna be sweating, you're gonna be moving, you're gonna chafe, you're gonna get sore. And you know, day 2, you're gonna be doing that. That's gonna take you a little longer to get home doing that. Get some body powder. And also, I couldn't find any in the little bottles. Get some foot powder. You gotta take care of your feet. Your feet are gonna be the most important thing that you have. And it's all about keeping the machine running. What's the machine? Your body. If you can do little things like this to have something to help keep your body going, that's great. Also, spare socks. Spare socks sealed up in a Ziploc bag or sealed up. We've got the old vacuum sealers. That's what we have all our spare socks in. Also have a Ziploc bag, because if you get socks wet, get them out there, put them on your pack, whatever, get them dry. Once they're dry, get them back into that Ziploc bag, keep them dry for the next use. Same with underwear. And another thing, this is, how many people have flashlights in your get home bag? You have big ones? Nope, small, that's what I like to hear. My whole family, they've got this on their vest. We'll get into the vest in a minute here. That's all the lights you need. If you have to go find something in your bag or you drop something you're looking for, that's it. You know why I'm saying that? I've been out looking for people at night and have them just shine some kind of small light, and you're going to give yourself away. If you're looking down the bag with this, you can do it safely. If you want to carry a big one for an emergency when you might have to get it turned on to light illuminate a bigger area, fine, carry that. But for regular use, something small like that is going to give you just enough light to see, but don't have anything that's going to give your position away.
So is it because it's red too?
Yeah, red and small.
Red will also help keep you from interrupting your night vision.
Night vision.
That's why it's used on ships.
And you would know about the ships.
Yes, sir.
Outstanding. Thank you for that information. Carry spare batteries. I've seen spare batteries wrapped up in aluminum foil. I don't know how they have made it that far in the back of somebody's car. These are relatively inexpensive. Get something like this, put your batteries in, keep them safe. I think that's most of my little goodies there. We'll continue on. And I mentioned investor jacket or a fanny pack. A few years ago, I got everybody in our family and their significant others some of the 511 tactical vests, because I started thinking, you know, you hear a lot of people talking about if they get into a situation and they're in a confrontation, they're going to try to keep their bag with them. Drop your bag and run. Nothing in that bag worth losing your life over. Have enough stuff on your person that you can make it, bare bones. So my family's vest, they got a knife, they got a compass, they got some maps, they have some protein bars, they have means to get water and filter. And they have some emergency blankets they could use for shelter if they needed it. If you're forced into a situation, you have to drop your get home bag, drop it, get out. I'm not saying that if you see the situation arise where JoJo's there going through your bag, and you have the opportunity to turn around and get your bag back, get your bag back. You can do it safely without injuring yourself and stopping that person from going out and doing this to somebody else who might not be prepared for it. Car items. You know, if you've got, a lot of situations might not be that severe, but if you're running into something in your car where you get run off the road and it's in the middle of winter, or if you run into some kind of storm damage where you're stuck, have enough in your car to keep you going. A little bit of food, something for heat. It can be simple. I've made up these little kits for my family. I think they had $100 into them, but I went overboard in a few areas. They had a knife in there, a few other things. Have something like that, keep it in your car just to be ready. Oh, and this is one that I hate to talk about. Exercise plan. You know what? If you don't do something to try to keep yourself in shape for what you might be facing, all this is a waste of time. Forget getting a get-home bag, go out and spend that on beer and chips or something and have a good time. Because if you're not in shape to go the minimum amount of distance you have to go, you're kidding yourself. My wife and I, we're very active around the farm property. But a few years ago, she wanted to go up to, anybody been to Seneca Rocks in West Virginia? About 900 feet high, beautiful. She wanted to walk up top of Seneca Rocks. Learned real quick, about halfway up. So we've been walking, we hadn't doing anything like this. So we had to pick up the pace a little bit. Be realistic, keep yourself going, stay at least in the minimum amount of shape you're gonna need to get home. Enhance your skills. Excuse me. There are so many things you can do, pick up on, and a lot of them you can go to events like this and learn about them, whether it's the plants you're going to run into, whether it's water filtration, whether it's how to build a shelter. Get out there and do that stuff and practice it. Don't wait until you have to use this to try to figure it out. That's a bad time to do it. Go out, get together as a family, learn how to build shelters. Learn what you can go out there and find on the road. Learn the best places to get water. Another thing I didn't touch on the routes, I know on my route home from Columbus, I pass all kinds of little streams and creeks. I pass some ponds. I found 3 streams that are coming down from high ground, not going through a pasture or anything. Now I've got water filtration means with me, but I know that's probably going to be some of the best water I can get on the way. So take the time in advance to look for stuff like that. Whenever you were practicing your plan, use the exact same equipment, rations, and water. Don't change, because anything that you change can change the dynamic when you're in a real situation. You know, somebody, and I've seen people say, okay, well, yeah, I know we're going on a forced march, but I'm going to put on this new pair of boots I got because they're going to keep my feet safe. No, they're not. They're going to tear you up. Use something that's broken, that you're used to, that you practice with, so it doesn't do any damage to you. Silence your equipment. One of the best friends you can have is a roll of electrical tape. If you're walking along, you got something rattling, jingling, wrap it with that electric tape. Try to get that silenced. You don't want to make any more noise than you have to when you're going down the road. If you're in a situation where there are no vehicles at all, no planes, noise is going to become very important too. It's going to become very obvious. Conditioning. Anybody know how far you can expect to walk, average person can expect to walk in an hour? Figure you would be able to walk in most situations about 3 miles in an hour. If you got a bicycle, should be able to go at least 9 miles in an hour, unless you have too many hills. It's another thing that we looked into. We found some little folding bikes. We found them in the yard sale. We got a pair of them, I think it's for $100. That can help us get home a lot quicker. It's easy, fold them up, throw them in the back, throw them in the trunk, throw them in the back of the truck, so you have something like that. And then you can put all kinds of panniers and packs on them to help carry the load so you're not having to do it. But know your distances, use that accordingly when you're doing your planning.
Northwest Ohio is very flat, and I know folks who years ago were into rollerblading, and they just keep their rollerblades in the back of the car because most people work outside of the little town that we're from.
And I've had people bring that up before. The only thing I have against rollerblading, you have to be in a situation where the noise from rollerblading is not gonna be an impairment.
Yeah, they're going, 12, 15, 20 miles on country roads.
Yeah. And they're making a little noise, so if somebody's laying there watching, and that's another thing, when you're traveling, they'll get into this in the disciplines here. Disciplines. Did you ever think you're gonna come in here and you're gonna end up talking about disciplines? I know I'm a buzzkill. I always gotta bring planning, disciplines, all that bad stuff in. But unless you have been through a situation where you have learned how to draw on these disciplines and make them work for you, you're not even gonna think of it when you're out there. First thing, noise discipline. So when it's quiet out there, bad guys sitting around waiting, if they hear you come down the road like Mr. Jingling, making all kinds of noise, you're gonna wake them up. Because I tell you right now, their disciplines are very poor. They're gonna forget what they're out for if they're waiting for people until you remind them. So don't remind them. Try to keep things as quiet as you can. Light discipline, we already touched on that. When you're out there, we were in a situation where we went like 8 or 10 days without power after a big storm. And man, somebody turned the light on the next road over. You could see it, it just really stuck out. Can't overemphasize light discipline. Trash discipline, how you dispose of it. Why is that important?
Contamination.
Exactly. And we've done this in some training scenarios too, and a lot of people don't pick up on it real quick. But if you're walking along the road and all of a sudden you see cigarette butt, candy wrapper, another cigarette butt, and you have nothing, what are you gonna do? You're gonna follow the trail. This person I'm following's got some good stuff, and I'm gonna hunt him down and I'm gonna get it. Don't give them that opportunity. Odor. It's another thing I see people in their get-home bags, they're planning to cook a 3-course meal out there. Don't do it. If you're getting home, there's no need for cooking. Maybe in the wintertime, if you want to heat up, have some hot coffee, cup of soup, yeah, that's going to help you out. It's going to help your morale more than anything. But just get home. Have food that you can consume without the need for cooking it. Because people have gone without food, that's worse than cigarettes. People who smell some food cooking, doesn't matter if it's freeze-dried meal, that's going to be good after a few days. Don't cook anything. Don't give them the opportunity. Don't do anything to draw them in. Movement. Movement can give you away in a heartbeat. If you got to move from point A to point B, move with a purpose. You want to do it as quickly as possible. You want to hope that if there is somebody out there, they weren't watching, they don't have a chance to miss it. If you go real slow, trying to be Rambo, moving through an area, watching everything, you're giving them a longer opportunity to see you. Move with the discipline, get through there as quickly as you can. Priorities of work. Boy, here's another one. But you know, people aren't aware of the priorities of work and what they should be doing. They're gonna make some mistakes. When you're out in this situation, first priority work is security. Any place you stop, any place you set up. Anybody read any prepper novels at all?
Jeff,
Yeah,
under execution, you have A, you have B without anything listed. Was that the typo you were talking about?
that's one of them.
Okay, so you don't, there's no B. C is B.
Yep. We'll work through that in just a second here. But priorities of work, first one, security. You can never let your guard down. Never if you are carrying a weapon, never get away from that. It should always be within reach. Because if you read the prepper novels, what happens when you set your gun down next to a tree, you go do something else? That's like that in real life too. If somebody is there waiting to get the one up on you, and they see you set your weapon down and go do something else, they know that's the time to hit. Always have that right close to you if you're carrying. Shelter. If you got some bad weather going on, you're traveling. What is one of the rules of 3? Second most important. If you're walking through a snowstorm, you stop, first thing you have to do is shelter yourself. If you don't, well, third thing you gotta do. But get yourself sheltered, get yourself in an area where you're gonna have some protection while you're taking your break. Hygiene. And you know, I know that's something you think you don't need to worry about. Maybe you're just gonna get home, it's just gonna take a couple days, it's gonna be okay. If you have any kind of injuries, you have blisters, you have cuts, take care of them. I also recommend you carry a little folding toothbrush with you with a little bottle of mouthwash. Oral hygiene can take you down quicker than you can imagine. And if you can go ahead and just brush your teeth real quick, that's gonna make you feel a little bit better. It's gonna boost your morale. Why are we using mouthwash instead of toothpaste? Toothpaste, you're gonna need to waste some water. Mouthwash, you don't put it in there, brush your teeth, spit it out, you're good to go. After all this, then worry about getting some water and getting some food. D, practice, practice, practice. Exercise your plan, exercise all the skills that you've been working on developing, and make sure you're using the same equipment, rations, and water. Missed opportunities, talked about one already. People miss opportunities every day to find out where they can get water. Find out where you got good rest hides, checking out your alternate routes, and traveling them enough that you know them like the back of your hand. You're not going to need a map. Develop relationships along the route. I've got a couple places, if I go off the beaten trail and go to the alternate route, I can find people, a little mom and pop store, people who have a vegetable stand. Stop in them, patronize them when times are good, because maybe, just maybe, if they get to know you, you're on your way home and you need to get some water, something like that, they might be a little more inclined to help you. So get to know those folks. Know the most expedient routes. And then most important, keep the machine moving. Do whatever you have. Take care of your body, keep it going. Don't let it do anything that's going to let it break down and let you down. Keep it going, make it home without any excitement. That's the main goal. Anybody have any questions?
What were the novels you mentioned when you were in priorities of work and security?
The novels, well, let me talk about these next here. Kent right here was good enough to share these with us, and these were recommended to him, and you've read them both and they were good?
Oh, yes. Bill Stormfellow, who was supposed to be here now, as Jeff or Randy mentioned, has been deployed. When he was interviewing Bill, he recommended these 2 books. And the thing that he said is, if an HFT event was to happen, it's not going to be like you think. This fellow lived through them. And he talks about what it took to survive. He does not look at it through rose-colored glasses. Very real life. So Bill recommended those 2. I bought them.
And that's all have them down here if you want to come down and take a picture of them so you can order them if you're interested. And I'm going to order them and read them. I've heard about them before, but I've never sat down and read them. But you got to realize too, anybody here in law enforcement, protection or corrections maybe, for most folks have no idea the evil there is out there doing. And I tell you what, I've been in security and law enforcement for 45 years. And I have seen stuff out there that just makes me shudder, runs cold chills up my spine. And the average person, unless you've been a victim of crime or had the opportunity to see it, you got no idea what you're going to be in for with some of these folks out there. That's why I tell you to avoid everybody. Stay away from them. Let me touch on something real quick that I didn't bring up. You're traveling home. And I can see this situation, that's why I run through this in our area. There are going to be situations where people are going to shut the road down. It may be a neighborhood. It may be just you run into a section road out in the country where people have banded together, they shut the road down. If you come upon that, first thing I'm going to tell you to do is avoid it. How do you avoid it? Make sure that you've got something. When you're traveling, just don't walk. Have a decent quality binocular like this, a little set of binoculars. Glass the area that you're traveling through before you walk into it, especially if there's cover along either side. Know what you're getting into. If you see something there, get away. Go another way. Avoid it. But if you catch yourself running into a situation where somebody's got a roadblock up, you run into it. If they don't shoot you right off the bat, maybe you got a chance to negotiate. Work on your negotiation skills. You know, if they're telling you you can't come through here, tell them, buddy, you know, I'm just trying to get home. I got a family I'm trying to get home to. This is the most direct route. I'd love to be able to go through here. I mean no harm to you. I just want to get through, get home to my family. Don't tell them exactly where your family lives in case they do have bad intentions. Try to negotiate your way through. If you can't, say, well, okay, what route could I take that's going to get me going the same direction that's not going to confront you in any way? I don't want to cause you any problems. How can I go that you're not going to have a problem? Don't try to be aggressive with them. I know in our situation, if we shut down our road and I come down talking to you, I'm not going to come down there talking to you unless you got 3 red dots on your chest. Consider what you're walking into. Never try to force your way through it. Not going to win. Just that simple. Work on negotiation skills. That's one reason at my booth, I have some old stuff and it's in the make an offer buckets. People, it's really funny because it's simple. Make an offer. I'm not going to get my feelings hurt one way or the other. People will have a hard time making an offer. Those who do make an offer usually walk away with a smile on their face. I might help develop their skills a little bit, especially young folks. Young folks have a real hard time doing that. You gotta develop the skills to talk to people and negotiate a little bit. Anything else?
Can you just say the names of the books?
We can. The Dark Secrets of SHTF Survival by Selko Bigovic.
I'll take a picture of him also and post him on that.
Cool, that'd be very good. The other one is SHTF Survival Boot Camp. Good information. I'll tell you one thing we're going to do here, and this is something that I like to do. You set this down a minute. Anybody like some Advil? Oops, sorry.
Thank you, I'm handicapped.
Body powder? Nobody wants any body powder?
Well, I'll take that too.
Well, hang on, we got your neighbor here. No more body powder? We got one back here. Two. Let's spread this up. Moleskin.
Oh, that's valuable.
Thank you. AA battery carrier.
How good's your arm?
I don't know exactly. Oops, went wide. CR 123. We got somebody over here? Haven't had anybody over here. Oh man, that went way. All right, everybody, thank you very much. Please get a chance to stop by the booth and see me. Let's talk.